Hi, good morning. Just walked in to listen a little bit before I start speaking, and then I was called up. So good morning, everybody. Where are all the women in the audience? Oh, yeah. Well, usually when there's something like Miss Bitcoin, it's because there are not enough women in the audience to begin with, so you need the Miss something or the feminist movement. So I'm glad to push the percentage of women from, I don't know, 2 to 3, something like that. I'm also here to let you know a little bit of my thoughts that I think are quite representative of the public that elected me. I'm a Knesset elected, and I'm not a part of the government in any way, but or of the decision makers in the monetary area. But I do believe that there are some changes that should be taken, and there are some points that should be taken into consideration when considering regulation and decision-making regarding Bitcoin and other digital coins. I think in the reality of today's economy and the way that the market is built, Bitcoin is an opportunity rather than a threat. And I feel bad, and I think it is very, I don't know, we should think about, we should think why Bitcoin is considered in Israel in a way like in other countries, but in a way even to a more conservative side, why Bitcoin is being considered as a threat rather than as an opportunity. When we look at the way money is produced, and I have to tell you right in the beginning, I come from, well, I define myself socialist. I come from a social democratic economic approach or position. I believe in big government, I believe in regulation, I believe in high taxation. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I can hear you laughing, maybe now I understand why, because about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call and a few emails from people saying, hey, we heard you're going to speak at the Bitcoin conference, and we were quite surprised knowing you come from a left-wing party representing, left-wing economic policy. And we don't know if you know, but Bitcoin is an anarchist thing. It's a crypto neoliberal economic policy, and we don't understand where your position is not coherent, and maybe you should not go there, or at least know that you have a very internal contradiction in your positions. And I said, okay, we live in a world where the money that should, and I support I support highly public regulation and control over the production of money. But right now, money is being produced by banks and insurance companies, and it is the production of money is much more in the hands of very, very few, very, very rich people, and that control the loans that we all take, that control the rate of interest, that control what are the options that we have, and they also control the government and the politics of economic decision making, and of money, and of regulations. And so if government would be in charge of that, that's okay, I support that. But what is the threat? Why are these people so threatened with something that is in the hands of us, in the hands of people, in the hands of basically anybody with a computer? I started thinking about that, and I realized that, like many other things in public policy, most of the times it's a very small number of people that are being threatened by a very large number of people with nothing to lose. So, and I thought this is also the case with digital coins. Why are we so threatened by something that is not yet very stable? We don't know where it's gonna go. It's a very small portion of the economy. It cannot threat anything. It's just small and very, very distributed people around the world that can connect with each other and that obviously have, at least potentially, many, many advantages. Like I heard, I don't know, yesterday or today, was being presented here a very preliminary study or some kind of survey that was made in the Israel Bank. I think this study, this paper, is a very good beginning because it shows us many of the possibilities, and it deletes and it avoids from many, many of the problems and of the real threats that the current way of money production present. So what could be so wrong? And this is why I think that the Israeli policy right now, have no policy, is not going to the right direction. About less than a year ago, I think, when Karnit Plug was appointed, I wrote to her a letter saying, in many countries in the world, there has some recognition of Bitcoin, maybe not fully, maybe not as an integral part of economic policy is determined, but there is some understanding that Bitcoin is part of reality and we cannot ignore it, and we might rather start thinking how we relate to it. And at that point, I thought that Israel, being one of the places with very extent activity in Bitcoin, should be one of the first countries to have some kind of policy. And at the time, it had none. I didn't get a response from Karnit Plug, but a few weeks later, we heard the first, I don't know if you can call it policy, but the first statement from the Bank of Israel, along with some other factors in the Ministry of Finance and others, warning the public from Bitcoin, saying it's very unstable, it can be a machine for money laundering, and you shouldn't count on it and you shouldn't go there. And I thought that was a big mistake. I thought this is not the way or the place or the direction that the Israeli policy should go to. And I was very glad to discover the paper that was presented here in this conference that might give some hint of where the Israeli economic institutions are about to go in a few weeks or a few months' time. And I think from here, we should all tell this committee that was appointed and should publish its recommendations soon, don't be afraid. Bitcoin is not a threat. Bitcoin is an opportunity. And we should, maybe sometimes, like many, many other times in decision making and in public policy, we should learn from the public. We should look at reality, at what is going on, and then adapt the regulation and taxation to it, rather than think that reality should fit itself to the principles that we once thought were true, but prove themselves as wrong. So I came here to just to express, my notions and to say to you that we are looking at you to learn, to try and make the first steps. I think not everything has to be set in rules in advance. Sometimes we should go step by step with what is already happening. We cannot stop technology, that's for sure. So we might as well learn how to make policy and reality a little bit more go hand in hand than what is going on right now. I see I have 8 minutes left, and I think I'm going to leave those to you. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions that you think I should take from here back to the Knesset, back to Knesset committees, or think together about ideas that we can do together to change this Israeli policy a little bit.
Well, I'm from the U.S., so I can't really speak to Israel, but I want to thank you for coming and speaking at a Bitcoin event, and I would like to tell you for sure that I greatly appreciate anyone coming into a Bitcoin conference and supporting, I think, honesty and money, regardless of your political persuasion. That's not really a question, but I did want to say that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I realize that maybe my point about my political position was not made thoroughly. I just want to say I don't see any contradiction. On the contrary, between my very firm politically economic perception, which is, as I said, well, I define myself socialist. I know it's a very bad word in the US, so we'll just say with social democracy, which is also probably a very European position. I think in the US our position would be called liberal, but it's interesting how social and liberal might sometimes mean the same thing in different places in the world. But I think that someone wrote on my Facebook page like the same thing. How can you support Bitcoin if you're supposed to be socialist and the money should be controlled by the government? And I said, well, I accept that. I think that the money should be regulated by the government. Also, Bitcoin should be regulated by the government. And saying what you're saying, it's like saying that education should be controlled by the government, which I also support. And this is why we should ban Wikipedia, for example, or that the government and democracy should be controlled by the government, which I, of course, accept and support. And this is why we should ban, demonstrations or other public events. I think this regulation is a very, very important part of our lives because it prevents inequality in the world. And if we just leave things unregulated, things would get worse for us, for the people, rather than better. And I also think the same thing about economy and Bitcoin. Right now, the economy has gotten us to such an unequal place that distributing the power to the people can only improve things and not make them worse.
So thank you again for coming. Now, you say that Bitcoin should be regulated. If you were the regulator, how would you regulate Bitcoin? What would you do?
Okay, so that's a very good question. I don't think anyone knows exactly, what to do right now. First of all, as I said before, the first thing I would do is I would look at what Bitcoin does and how it behaves, and I think we can learn a lot from that. The first thing I would do, I think I wouldn't ban, I would give the option in opening bank accounts. I wouldn't look at any money that is collected or transferred in Bitcoin as it is just one big money laundering machine. In a way, this is the way it is being regulated right now. It's being, not regulated right now. And then I would, I know different countries in the world refer to Bitcoin in different ways. I can't tell you right now what is the best way for Israel. I do know that Israel has a wide Bitcoin activity, and I think this is an advantage. This is something we should look at and learn from, and then decide, what exactly is that. Maybe it's something new. Maybe it's something that wasn't here before. Maybe you can compare it not to shekels or dollars and not to apples. I don't know. We have a lot to learn, but preventing ourselves from learning is not the right strategy.
Hi, I'm Shaul from Bitcoin. So first of all, I have every waking hour invested in Bitcoin, and I'm also a socialist in my political views, so they don't conflict. My question is this: as a community, what instruments do we have to educate you as regulators, as decision makers? We're not from your world, from the political world, so what should we be doing to actually educate the political world to help us?
Okay, I think this is a very good question. I think many communities have educated many politicians in the past, and have been many of them have been very successful in that. First of all, the best education you can give us is just by your behavior and your activity. This is something that you are already doing, but of course it's not enough. It has to raise awareness, and as you know, if I look at Bitcoin's reputation right now, like in the economic newspapers and in the general public opinion, it would be something between indifference and fear, if I may just grasp the general public opinion. And I think in that respect there is a lot to be done. I don't know how organized are you. I met with some of you and learned a lot in that meetings. Maybe you should initiate the same thing with other, maybe more influential politicians. I also think that you should the ones from you that are already, social, political activists. I see some of you in the audience, but maybe not enough. I think that, like any social change of policy is something that you work for, is something that you recruit support, is something that you go along with a community, that it's not just devoted to that purpose, but it also sees its own mutual interest in the wider context of inequality policy, for example, for those of you who are anarchists or crypto, I don't know, whatever. Maybe you would see things differently, but I see any position that I take, I see it in the wider context of what I believe in, of the change I would like to see in the world. So the best thing I would recommend you to do is to engage yourself in activity to the change you would like to see, and see Bitcoin as a means rather than a goal. But there is also a lot of lobby, public opinion awareness that you can do. I think this conference is a very good one. And Yotam, where is Yotam? You did a good job. Your spokesperson for this conference. All items in the media, he's in charge. And if you like, we can think about it together more, like in more detailed way. What are the more concrete steps that can be done right now? Look at me as your, there's something you need, information you want to get, some official factor you want to turn to. I'm at your service.
If I may, there was a question about what to do. In my opinion, first of all, do. Having no policy is the worst policy. Right. You can't have a startup when you don't know the rules. You can't do anything. And where the rules will be clear, innovation will grow.
So you're discussing, I guess, how governments can regulate Bitcoin, and I guess I'm curious, the blockchain, which powers Bitcoin, is a very, very powerful technology to be able to prove certain things. I'm curious if yourself and maybe other government officials have thought about ways that the blockchain can regulate governments and basically streamline governments to do what they should be doing properly and make sure that funds are going to the right places. And I think it's an interesting concept. When governments are talking about regulating Bitcoin, I think there's a lot of ways that Bitcoin can regulate governments.
Well, I would just say, I believe this interaction is happening all the time. I don't think I would like, if I understand your question correctly, I don't think I would like Bitcoin to regulate governments in the way that Fortune is regulating governments right now. I think this is one of the main things we have to fix, and not to, just copy one bad policy to the other. I do agree that that governments, as the elected representative of the people, have to learn and have to adapt themselves just in order to serve us, the citizens, better. If that's,
Yeah, I guess I would just say, as a being in government and regulating, keep an open mind that there may very well be an interesting role for Bitcoin to help governments do what governments are doing.
Yeah, I accept that.
You've been studying Bitcoin for a while now. Has Bitcoin affected your economic thinking at all?
That's an interesting question. Yes, I think it has. I'm an economics major in university, and I don't know, in the last, I will now turn my age, in the last 15 years or something like that, since I graduated, I came to think a lot of times about the way what I learned in university has nothing to do with reality as I know it, and I think getting to know Bitcoin has changed it a little bit more. As I told you, I consider myself socialist. I'm also very, very highly democratic in my perception. And in my 18 months or so of being an active official politician, I learned to count on the people, on the public, much more than I did before, and even before I had a very highly democratic perception. So I think that now I'm even more, as you said, willing to learn and not just myself, but to develop policy making into a point of learning a lot from what is already happening. I come from urban planning. This was my second degree, and I also in my political activity I deal a lot with urbanism and urban sustainability, etc. And there is a very, very interesting perception in planning that says instead of the planner has to sit and plan everything on a very, very tight plan and then let the people use it, he should first go there and see where people use, what kind of paths and roads people take. And then where you see, and the image is like of a grass, and you just let people walk on it, and in the place where you see the path is being paved by itself, this is where you should plan the road or the street. So I think it is a very interesting something to think about in all policies, because in economics we are used, or maybe someone would like us to think of economics as something very, very complicated. People are stupid, they don't know what they're doing. when the famous American saying it's the economy stupid, they mean everybody's stupid. And women, no, I'm kidding. And I think we should go to the basics of this saying and just understand it's really quite more simple than some decision makers would like us to think. And I said that to myself as well. Thank you very much. And, enjoy the rest of your day. And I really invite you to be in touch with me if I can be of any help. Thank you.